I have done coaching for over 2 years now in AoE 4, and I have found since the beginning of my coaching that people struggle with the same things, no matter if they're in gold, plat, diamond, conqueror even, or if they're unranked, have never played multiplayer before. They struggle with a lot of the same macro mistakes. So I figured I would dedicate this video to talk a little bit more about that. We're going to talk about, general idling, TCs, investments, how to get return, when should you make units versus when should you not, stuff like that. So if you're interested in that, stick around and let's get into it. A lot of people struggle with the opening of a game. They haven't done their build order practice. They don't really know how to open up. They end up micromanaging villagers when they should be sending their scout out and pressing Q for villagers in their TC. The wrong order of things, so to speak. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to first show it slowly, and then I'll show it fast afterwards what it's supposed to look like. So the problem that people have is they first start micromanaging their villas like this, and let's say you're H3 and you want to do a 3-3 split. Well, they sit and they do like this, some even zoom, and they end up selecting the wrong amount of villagers. And so it creates a lot of idle time. We want to get started immediately. So when we open up the game, we want to spam click the middle of the screen for the TC and Q vills, right? Then we want to drag box select everything and actually right click the sheep that's closest to the TC. Then we can send the scout out, and then we can micromanage vills. Okay? Now I'm going to show this at full speed and show you what it's supposed to look like, because get this right and you won't lose half a vill every time you open up your game. You have practiced it from the beginning, so you're not, gonna be anxious about opening up because you know what to do, right? It looks like this. So we spam click the middle of the screen, take everything, take the scout out, click the middle of the minimap, and then we can do a select vills here with Control F. So this is a hotkey that I have bound that cycles through food vills. But even if you don't have that, you can also just select like this. But all of a sudden, this opener was a lot more smooth. And I've obviously done this so many times that it's just second nature now. But if you haven't, get started on it, build the muscle memory, because without it, you're gonna be, thinking about the basic mechanics instead of the game. And we wanna think about the game. There are some settings that are really important when we talk about idle villagers and idle TC. People struggle with this all the time. They end up having too long village queues or no villagers in queue. They have the wrong rally points. They have idle villagers that they are not aware of and they struggle to find them. They don't have muscle memory build up around building villagers. And so I'm going to just briefly go over that. Basically, you want to bind your TCs correctly. So I have it set up this way where I always select all my TCs instead of having to group them. So basically, if I double click key 5, it focuses on the main TC. This is the same behavior as a control group. Then on select all town centers down here, I have key 5 as well. So I click it once, I select all my town centers, I double click it, I go to my main town center. Very simple that way. Then, of course, you can also remove the control group. That makes it so that you don't accidentally overwrite it and remove this core functionality of your setup. Then in game, I have cancel last item in production queue, and I have cancel all items in production queue. These are standard hotkeys B and N, and they work really well for me because I can place my thumb on B and N. And that is really smart because when I overqueue too many vills, because my muscle memory goes crazy and I'm fighting on whatnot, something makes it so that I queue up too many vills, and I quickly want to free up some food, I can just click B and N. That's a really quick way of managing queues. It looks like this. So, first of all, I always have my scout on control group 3, and I have my TC on 5. So now when I go back and forth like this, people will say, oh, why are you spamming so much? You're not even, you just started the game. What are you doing? It's so annoying to watch this. Yes, but it's necessary for me. If I don't do this, I forget to make vills. And you should be doing it too. Or something similar at least. Because without it, well, I would be forgetting vills. I'm looking at my queue all the time. I'm spending 50% of the time just looking down here in this macro tab. Because it's a 50% of the game, if not more. Macro is everything. So if you struggle with macro, get used to looking down here. Don't sit and watch the villagers gather. If you want to get better at this game, we're gonna have to get away from that and get more into the technical part of it. So if I queue up too many vills like this and I can't H up, I can press B and then remove the queue. I can also quickly select these vills here, and then I'm ready to go. So, get the TC built like this. There's some teleporting here. This is a little bit higher level stuff. You don't need to be able to do this. It only saves you 1 or 2 seconds. But being able to quickly select your vills like this makes things so much easier. So that's huge. The next thing we want to talk about is, well, how do I avoid idle time on my villagers? So first off, these villagers over here, they're currently not shift-clicked on anything. When they're done, they will idle, right? Whenever you build a drop-off point, like a mill or something, they will automatically go to it. But if you don't do that, and you're just building a building like a barracks or a landmark, you need to shift-click them afterwards. So get used to doing that. This is one of my build orders. This is a standard opener aggro build order. I always chop one tree, but what when the tree's done? They will go to this tree over here, but I want them to go to the wood line because the chapel is finished and I want them to be inspired. So I take these vills and I shift-click them like this over to the wood line. And I can do the same with the TC route here, the rally point, and I can then position my vills here. Look at this. They automatically go over to the wood line. The same with the one that was shift-clicked here after the tree was exhausted. So get used to shift-clicking and you will save up so much time. And do this all the time. Don't even think about it. Get it into your system so that you're doing it automatically. And then when you're building a building like a house here, shift-click back to the gold. If you're aged up and you're building a production building like we're going to be doing now, and by the way, you can do the same here. They're running back a little bit too early, so I just shift-click them back, right? I can build a stable if I want to, and I want this guy to go back to the food afterwards. He'll do that if I just shift-click him over here. So get used to micromanaging workers like this, because your economy becomes 10 times more effective. When we talk about macro, we talk about villagers. Villagers will go and align themselves with whatever you're trying to do. Are you trying to fast castle? Well, it's no use for you to have a lot of villagers on wood. You won't get a very fast castle that way. Instead, you need to do a 2-1 split. You need twice as much food as you need gold. So twice as many on food as you have on gold. Most build orders don't last longer than 5-6 minutes because they can't tell if you have lost a vill, if you made a barracks as a defensive measure at some point. So get used to having a more fluid macro by looking at what you have, what you're gathering for. If you're gathering for something you don't need, or you're just gathering because you think you need it, or the build order told you, but now things have changed, don't gather, right? Gather purposefully. So when we are currently with all these vills on our wood line right now, do we need the wood? Yeah, sure. If we want to make a few farms and go, you know, make a couple of production buildings and such, like let's say we wanted to go aggressive. So, you know, this is the way we would be setting up. But what if we don't want to do that? What if now we scout that our opponent's going to go fast castle and we cannot make units enough to counter it because he double towered and it'll take us a long time and a lot of resources for us. What we can do is we can then cancel everything here, save the resources, pull the whole wood line, and then we can go on the map, for example, because he has nothing. And all of a sudden, sure, we're floating a little bit of wood. We can use it later. Now, what we have done is we have split our vills. We're going to make a prelate here too, because HRE needs that when you don't have a chapel covering your gold. So what we're going to do is now we're going to instead go on the map. We got the map control because he's fast castling, and this also gives us more food income. Basically, we just completely full stop wood gathering because we saw that our opponent was gonna go fast castle. And so within just a couple of minutes, we are now fast castling as well. So the wood, sure, we're floating a bit. We will use it later. When we get to castle age, we'll still need wood for production buildings. Maybe we're gonna go for a monastery. Let's say we went for Burgrave or something. We're gonna be needing maybe a tower. And then later on, maybe even, you know, maybe even farms, right? You never know. So, build a house. We're looking at the economy right now. It's very split, right? This is not even 2-1. That's because HRE prelates are so strong. And we have got deers coming in as well. So, the food and gold economy, currently, they're quite different. And so, you know, you gotta get a feel for this. You can't be perfect if you've just started working on the fluid macro and not the static, which is, you know, your build order and such. You're just getting better at switching villagers around. But the main point here is do not be afraid of just having an idle wood line. If the right call for you is to go castle, go castle. Don't waste more time in feudal age than necessary. You gathered all this wood here, don't make 10 farms with this, or whatever, right? It's like just gonna slow you down. You need it later. So it's not necessarily wasted resources that way. Now we can age up, and we just managed to do a 7-minute age up, even though we had initially planned on going castle. Everything in the game has a return on investment. Whenever you're investing into knights for relic capture, then you're going to have a reaction to that as well. If you're going to do a second TC, well, it's going to take multiple minutes before that second TC has paid off. You want to think about units as cost per action. So if you are making 2 knights, are they going to force full crossbows and spear transition from your opponent, who's now, let's say, on a second TC? That's not the case here. We're up against the bot, but for the sake of the argument, he's on second TC. Well, if that forces so many units, does that keep him in the castle age when we're trying to fast Imperial behind it? If yes, well then that's a really good thing, because it allows us to then do more with this. We can attack and get value by keeping him in his base, idling out his military, which is huge for us at this stage of the game, because we want to buy time for the strategy that we're trying to accomplish, which is fast castle into fast Imperial. It often looks like this, where people are overproducing and they are not getting more out of it. I might make 2 knights and force 10 spears, 10 crossbows, or make 10 knights and force the same amount of units. This is called probing. So when you probe someone, you attack them, or you scout them, or you see something, they get a reaction, and that reaction might be an overreaction. And so if you made 3 spears in the feudal age and they made 10 archers, that's an overreaction. Because you only made 3 of them, he overinvested into archers, and he doesn't need any more. So now we made 2 knights. Is he now going to play full castle when he should be going imp? Yes? No? Figure those things out, because you can tell whether or not your opponent's going to overreact. So yeah, think about that. Can you take map control with 2 knights? Amazing. Can you keep your opponent in their base by just raiding? Amazing. Did you make 10 knights and did the same thing? Well, then it's probably wasted if you're trying to fast Imperial behind it. So think about everything you do as though there is an invisible timer that tells you how much, value you got out of it. Did you go for second TC? Let's imagine a 5-minute timer for the example. Well, until 5 minutes have passed, that TC is actually not put you ahead. It's actually put you behind. And so every action puts you behind initially and then pays off. Every upgrade you go for puts you behind initially and then later on gives you something back. So we are raiding with our knights here, and all the spears are following us. Now we're controlling his army movement, which is a whole other topic that I'm not going to go into in this game. And behind it, I'm able to go Imperial. So these 2 knights here have gotten incredible value because my opponent's overproducing spears, and I can go Imperial behind it. Now when he sees the Imperial Age, I'm going to drag all these units to the back of his base, and, well, he can't do anything. It's too long to run all the way over here, and there'll be bombard emplacements. Simple as that. The last thing I want to talk about is when should you get your eco upgrades. A good rule of thumb is whenever you have about 8 to 10 units on each resource, you should get the tier 1 or tier 2 upgrade for it. So if I have 10 villagers on food, get horticulture. If I have 10, 15 villagers on wood, get wheelbarrow and double broadaxe. You'll see this in build orders all the time, that they go for those upgrades early so that the payoff comes faster. But the payoff will come quite slow if you only have 3 vills on gold, and getting the mining upgrade makes no sense. But later on, when you go on castle and you have 12 to 15 on gold, then it's much better to get it because it's going to be a lot faster for it to pay off. So when we think about eco upgrades and we think about our strategy, if we're doing, for example, feudal aggression, it can be a great idea to think, okay, I need to get all my eco upgrades because I need a lot of resources to produce units. But if you're doing a fast castle strategy and you've now invested into wheelbarrow, double broadaxe, mining, and the food upgrade, all of a sudden you wasted so many resources, and it ended up costing you 2 relics, for example. For the rest of the game, you're not going to have those 2 relics. And so, does it make sense to go for eco upgrades there? No. So I'm not going to give you a chart that says get wheelbarrow at this minute in this exact situation, but think about what I'm doing. Will it boost what I'm doing? Or will it take away from what I'm doing? It's all about timings. And it's not going to come immediately, but it's something to keep in mind when you play the game. So skip upgrades when you go for like castle or imperial timings like we're doing here, and prioritize them if you're looking to gather those resources for longer. The same is with the military upgrades. Whenever you're looking to dive bases, let's say these 2 knights here were supposed to go under the TC here, well, getting +2 ranged armor makes a lot of sense. If we're fighting in feudal and we have a lot of archers, get ranged attack. If you're up against archers, get ranged armor. If you're up against a lot of melee, well, get ranged melee armor, right? It's not that hard. Don't overthink it. Right now we have a lot on wood, so we should get all the wood upgrades. We should get wheelbarrow as well. Should we get horticulture right now? Well, if we're going to go on food in a moment, I would say yes. So we take all these villagers here, and they're going to go, and some of them are going to work the wood here, some of them are going to go on the boar, and then of course it makes sense for us to go for the survival techniques and the horticulture upgrade. Because, well, we're going to have a lot of villagers on food and wood. It's not that complicated. So don't overthink this too much. Just get the upgrades when it's right. Of course, there are more complications as if you were running, you know, cavalry archers. There's a lot of upgrades from the uni that makes sense. Of course, H3 doesn't have cavalry archers, but for the sake of the argument, right? Right, so now we get immediately the second wood upgrade. All these upgrades make sense to get now because now we have a lot of villas and wood. Maybe we want to start farms. Definitely get horticulture, right? So you can start that out of a second mill here. If we're going to make a lot of men-at-arms, well, it would make sense for us to get all the melee upgrades and the upgrades for the men-at-arms. Don't get them before you have units. That's another thing. Don't get blacksmith upgrades if you don't have anything that's being upgraded by getting them. That's another common mistake I see. You know, people will make a blacksmith at minute 6 when they have like 5 archers or something, and then it's like, well, if you added another archer, you would have doubled your damage anyways. And so why would you get the upgrade and not just another archer? Right? There's definitely a break point for a lot of those things, and I would definitely look into it more if I was new to the game. So yeah, that's pretty much it for this guide here. Hope you guys have enjoyed this video, and I will catch you guys in the next one. Peace.